Thanks a lot, Fernando. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So I'm sorry I can't speak Portuguese today, but I will do my best to be as clear as possible. If you have any question after that, do not hesitate to contact the Teads team, because we would be able to have a proper follow-up. And if you have any question, as Fernando said, you can put it in English or in Portuguese in the chat. So today I'm here to explain you exactly what we did, how we prepare to this cookieless world, which I'm sure you have heard about because it's a lot of it's doing a lot of noise, which could be on the regulation side, but also on the browser side. And this is something that we are going to see today in the next 45 minutes. The objective there is to go very quickly on the landscape so that we are all on the same page. And then I will share some Teads number, which is super interesting because this is the real number and the real impact we have due to these cookieless environments. I will then review the main industry initiatives that are super important for Teads to follow, to prepare until the end or the progressive phase out of third-party cookies. I will finish with a focus on Teads, our cookieless suite, and how we are preparing and proposing to our partners a cookieless readiness program. So in terms of landscape, I'm sure you have heard about, but there is a lot of information coming in, a lot of noise, and it's very complicated to have the right angle. There is no miracle solution. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, and we have a lot of information, various players, different views, so we could feel a bit lost about it. I personally met with agencies, advertisers, competitors, partners, and internally as well. Like it was like very complex to have only one vision, one angle. This is something that we are trying to do. And of course, you can challenge what we are proposing, and the objective is to have an open discussion because said that again, there is no like one size fits all solution. There is several solutions, and I think working together will help a lot. So in terms of scope, and I will go very quickly on that, I will talk about cookie, this small file which is on any terminal of a user. I will distinguish first-party cookie, which are cookie from publishers, which are only available on one single domain. And we distinguish those first-party cookie from the third-party cookie, which are the cookies that will allow you to track and profile one user, but cross-domain. And I will also talk on the mobile advertising ID, which is made for the in-app environment that you can only use in the app environment, which is not regulated yet, but which will. And the last release from Apple is paving the way, and Android should follow later, and we will talk about it. And this is also called, of course, device ID, IDFA, Google ID, Huawei ID, Samsung ID, and so on. In terms of change, there is like two parallel angles. The first one is, of course, the browsers that are removed first-party cookie technically. It has started with Safari a few years ago, then followed by Firefox, and all the new browsers coming in on the market, such as Brave, are framing the user privacy by preventing people to drop a cookie. And this had a real impact on our inventory, and we will I will share some numbers coming from Teads. And in parallel, we also have like the regulators in Europe. This is a GDPR, which are framing this user privacy by impacting the possibility to drop a cookie. We have GDPR in Europe, but there is CCPA in the US. There is LPDP in Brazil, but also in Thailand. Every local region has their own regulators working on framing this user privacy. So today, if we really focus on cookie, we went from a world where there is 100% of inventory where you can technically drop a cookie to 65% due to these common browsers and regulator initiatives. However, most of the impact yet are hidden. Why are they hidden? It's because today, if we look at the global market share at Teads in terms of browsers. So this is a global number, but I can share the number for Portugal. Chrome is still representing 60% of the browser usage in the open internet, at least with our inventory. But knowing that we have at least 90% plus of reach on the local digital population, this is making this number super accurate and pertinent. As a parallel in Portugal, on our inventory, 60% of the inventory is still Chrome. Why is this super important? It's because on Chrome, you still can drop a cookie on 92% of the case, meaning that in the browsing world, in terms of market share, you can drop a cookie on 90% of 60% of the case, which is making the inventory available to drop a cookie, and all like the impact to be what we say like a bit hidden. In parallel, on Firefox and Safari, we have like 8 to 10% of the inventory where you can technically drop a cookie. I said technically because I'm not taking into account all the regulation. In terms of forecast, this is important that today on the web we have 65%, we just saw this, like 65% of the open internet where you can technically drop a cookie, which according to the last news from Google, which will be like progressively in 2021 60%, and from one day to another, like Google will take the same stance as Apple or Firefox and will remove by default cookie, meaning that we should have progressively 10 to 15% of the inventory in 2022 where you can drop a cookie. And in 2023, as we are seeing in Firefox and Apple, we have 8 to 10% of the inventory where we can still drop a cookie. And this is super important because this 10% will help us to train algorithm and to measure what we're doing cookieless. And I will go to this approach a bit later. On the in-app environments, today we have 100% of the inventory where we can, when we have access to the IDFA. With a new Apple release, we should be around 60%, knowing that Apple is representing a lot of the inventory on the in-app environment. Android should follow as well, and we should have the same amount of IDFA available in 2023. Of course, this is a forecast. We might be wrong, but this is how we are taking the industry into account to make sure that we have the proper solution. So what I just showed is the fact that in 2021, cookies are still present. Impacts is hidden because Google is representing a lot and Chrome is representing a lot of the inventory where you can drop a cookie. So it turned out that this year, 2021, will be a transition year where we need to prepare to be successful in the future. Everyone needs to prepare, from the advertiser side, agency, tech, such as us, publishers, because when cookie will be removed, impact will be widespread everywhere, and you will be ready or not to approach this new world. And what are the real impacts on digital? I will go very quickly on this slide, even if there is a lot of information, because what I just want to show there, it's going beyond targeting. Okay, today, like cookieless will impact targeting, of course, but it's also impacting campaign delivery, reporting, measurement, and also attribution. What is not impacted is everything not based on the user history, such as geolock, device targeting, contextual targeting, and we will have a lot of people working on this contextual side, which is already working and working fine. And just to provide you with numbers, we have done some tests on our end at Teads. As an SSP, we sent request with cookie and request without cookie to several DSPs. And the results we have on our inventory is the fact that on the cookieless environments, we have been receiving 3 times less campaign than usual. And for the publishers, and this is another numbers coming from, here it's coming from Google, sorry, with no cookie, publishers will lose 52% of their revenue. It shows that the cookieless environment is super interesting and could be a super opportunity for the next for the next months. So how to get prepared? Again, this is Teads vision. It could be challenge, and you can ask any question you want. But for us, there is two main approaches, based on one, the cookieless audience targeting, and then on contextual. Firstly, is like how to do sustainable audience targeting which respect the user. For us, there is 5 different initiatives to understand and to work on. The first one is the unique ID, how to leverage this unique ID solution, and I will go into details just after. How you could work with publisher to have access to first-party data and first-party cookie, which are not impacted by the regulator and by the browsers. We have predictive audiences, which is a way to create algorithms that could predict in real time who is behind a device. We have, of course, like browser initiatives, and the main one is the one from Google and Privacy Sandbox. And we have the industry initiative coming, which is a ReArc project. And this is something Teads is part on, and we will talk about like just a bit later. So unique ID, the objective of the unique ID, it's really to track a user thanks to a login. For that, we need a user to log in any domain website is visiting. This login is then given to companies such as LiveRamp, Unified ID Solutions, Panorama ID, Net ID, ID5, ID+, which are encrypting this login, creating a file and sharing this file into the industry. This is something which is very interesting because if you have the login of the user, you have a lot of information. It's a real one-to-one cookie replacement. It's also really interesting because you could have a cross-device view. If a user is logged into an in-app environment, but also in the open web, having the login allow you to track and profile this user almost everywhere. But the condition is that you need to get at some point this email and login credentials. And this will be key for the future. For us, on all discussion we have with publishers, and as we have direct relation with publishers, this is super interesting. But at max, they have 15 to 20% of their inventory which is logged in. So it's going to be a big challenge for the industry, for the publisher, for the end user to give login, to get login and to share that into the industry so that it's adopted by everyone. So if I try to resume what I just said, a logged in ID, a unique ID, help you to have enough accuracy, enough granularity. Potentially it's already ready, you can use it. The issue is there is not a lot of scale to be usable yet. So this is something to follow in the next few months for sure. Then another option is to leverage the first party cookie from the publisher to track and profile a user in a single domain. So first party cookie are not framed yet by, or not framed at all by the regulator and browser, because it goes beyond to advertising tracking. It's used for to help the website to work in a better way. So potentially you can track and profile a user thanks to a cookie, but for one domain independently. To resume, that's why this guy, John, has 3 different colors. It's because you can follow him, track him, profile him on each domain independently without any way to have a cross vision on him. It means that it's a fragmented view of this user as you are seeing this user in silo. However, in terms of opportunities, it's super interesting because it's a one-to-one replacement to cookie. However, it only works on one domain separately. Meaning that if we resume this approach, this is something that works. However, in terms of accuracy, granularity, you don't have a lot of volume, except if you're working with one big publisher. And it's already ready, so you can potentially use it. The third approach is how you can associate an anonymous users to the right audience. So potentially what we're doing is to get for any ad opportunity, it's to track and to use cookieless signals to profile someone anonymously. One example, this is what you have in front of you, and I will talk about it because Teads is doing it as well on the third part of this presentation. But if you can have in type of information someone which is at home reading Business Insider, a financial topic, on one iPhone 11 and on the Saturday at 10 p.m., we can associate this information to corresponding audience that we have, and we could, with a certain percentage of chance, say that this person with this pattern is a male, 25-49, which has a high revenue and which is married with children. So this is really something that a lot of players will focus on, because as you don't use cookie signals, you don't need the history of the user, you just need a certified bulk of your campaign which has certified information such as cookies or unique IDs to train and to make sure you can measure and to validate your approach. So the challenge is here is the fact that there is no standard approach in the industry. Okay, everyone is doing his own algorithm, and this is something that you will have to test in the future because it's already live. At Teads, we are already using predictive audience, real-time profiling to define someone in real time. It could be super accurate. You can have granularity, even if it's more upper funnel today. In terms of scale, you have access to the entire open internet, and it's already technically ready. Then the fourth initiatives, this is the browser initiatives and the Chrome Google Privacy Sandbox. This is a complete other paradigm. It's something that is centralizing the user identification and tracking within the browsers. All information, signals that you are getting are kept into the device and are not shared to other servers, which is like a first huge paradigm. Then people are profiled according to their center of interest, not at a user level, but at a cohort level. What is a cohort? Is a group of at least 1,000 users. So the behavior of users are then kept into cohort, and those cohorts are associated to type of segments. Segments that could be upper funnel, and that you can have access to, or potentially that could use in a more complex approach into the fledged turtle dove approach, which is another API from Google, but which could be also turned into lower funnel objectives. But the main things, the main paradigm to understand is the fact that there is no user targeting. It's only cohort targeting, group of users based on their interest, and this information is kept into Chrome into one device. And there is a lot of opportunities regarding this approach because it's greater for user privacy. It will work because, of course, it's Google and they're pretty big, pretty preeminent into this industry. And the potential to become a strong new standard is real. It's real. However, in terms of challenges, the approach is still very blurry. Okay, it's not live yet. It's under specs. The last information we get from Google is the fact that we could test the flock targeting starting in March. So this is something which, over the next few months, will be super interesting to test. However, is that something that the industry wants to do? It's the one-size-fits-all lead by a single player, meaning that will we let one player deciding how to target how we can target it, what type of segmentation we can have access to? This is another question, and that's why participating to this W3C workshop where all the industry is talking with the Chrome team, the Google team, into this new approach is super important. So today, if I just resume this approach, it's a new approach which is great, which could lead to a lot of scale because it's all the Chrome user. It could be accurate in terms of granularity. Knows that what we're seeing is the fact that it's only we could only have access to simple segments, so it could be limited, and it's of course not ready because the test will start in the next few weeks. Then the last initiatives to follow, which is very important as well, is the React project. The React project has been led by the IAB, and it's made to rethink and re-architect the digital marketing to create a new cookie V2, which will balance consumer privacy personalization. So it's an idea which will allow us to track and profile a user, but we don't know exactly how. Looks like it will be a login ID, but this is something that we still are discussing. Because in the IAB, there is like 750 companies participating in the IAB. There is like 30 working groups, more than 2,000 people. So it's a wide discussion into industry, which is very interesting. If we have a consensus that could lead to a real solution, however, it's only theory yet. It's only discussions, and to make this React project work, this new ID work and be a real solutions, we all, like the IIB would need the support of browser. But as Google is doing the same stuff, it might be complicated to have a real solution in the next few weeks. But let's see how it goes. So to resume the 5 main industry initiatives: unique ID, publisher first-party data, predictive audiences, privacy sandbox, React project. What we want to show with this slide is like all solutions have opportunities and challenges, but there is no one-size-fits-all solution. There is no one miracle solution that could help you to have everything and to have a one-to-one replacement to what you do with audience targeting in the past. The second pillar of this approach is, of course, the contextual targeting. For us, and we really think that the contextual targeting is not a plan B. It's not a return in the past 10 years ago where people were doing URL targeting or website targeting. It's a bit, it goes beyond, it works, and we have results yet. And this is something that I want to share today. For us, when you analyze a contextual solution, there is like 4 top industry challenges. The first one is to make sure that you can control the accuracy of your solution. Is that only targeting keywords, or is that targeting core topics resulting from a semantical analysis of keywords into one page? This is super important because you can have some solution targeting tons of keywords on one page, having tons of core topics, or you can have solutions with proper semantical analysis or limited core topics to make sure that when you target a page, it's really talk about a proper content. Then potentially you have also the granularity. You can target with a solution on top level, such as automotive, or you can have a granular content categories, like let's say automotive, SUV, hybrid SUV, which make it more accurate and which could give you more possibility to properly target your audience. Then the inventory where you will put your ad is super important. The placement, but and the supply source is crucial. It could be user generated, or it could be professional content. And a lot of studies are showing that delivering an ad into a professional content is creating like an halo effect, which is making the advertising or the advertisement more efficient. And then in terms of actionability, a lot of contextual approach is based on intuition. Okay, we like this context because this context like this product. However, what we want to propose as Teads and what you should look on the market is tools that will help you to have insightful and rational information to create your segments that you will use for your marketing strategy. In terms of use case on contextual targeting, we can use contextual targeting to be a way to target an audience. It could be, in other words, a proxy for audience targeting. Very simple example, but if you target article talking about golf, about yachts, you have a certain chance to target in fine someone which has a high revenue. And I think what will be super interesting in the future is to use this context as a proxy for audience targeting. It could be like super interesting and super useful. In terms of product suitability, of course, the content could amplify your marketing message, and this is what we are looking for when we do contextual. It could be basic, for example, with this photo advertising on an article talking about photography, one-to-one alignment, or it could be more advanced. You can train algorithm to understand exactly how a certain ad is interacting with the content. And one example is, I think is pretty clear, but if you put this photography, like this camera advertisement into an article talking about wedding, talking about safari, or talking about honeymoon, you will have more impact and more engagement coming from the user. It's really something about the product consideration, meaning that we have like three main use cases for contextual targeting. It could be a one-to-one alignment, it could be a consideration approach, or it also could be a proxy for audience targeting. So then, yeah, I would just to summarize, if you remember what I just said in this second part, we have talked about the audience targeting, the 5 main industry initiatives that you have to follow to make sure to understand what is happening in the next few months. And you have this contextual approach, which you could already leverage because you don't need the user privacy, the user history, and it's already working fine. So what are we doing at Teads? At Teads, we have like the 3 main pillars. We want to keep on doing sustainable audience targeting while respecting the user privacy. We also want to leverage the direct relation we have with publisher to propose an advanced and sophisticated contextual targeting. And for each phase of the marketing cycle, we want to propose and to promote planning, insight, and measurement solutions, which are working cookie-based or cookieless. So how are we doing sustainable audience targeting? So today, I don't know if you're familiar with what we offer in terms of data, but we are proposing standard audiences. And what we're doing over the last 2 years now is like we are future-proofing standard audience targeting to make sure that we can cover them cookie-based or cookieless. Today, we claim that we can cover like 80% of your audience targeting needs thanks to cookieless signals and of course cookie-based signals. And we want to make them actionable in 2 clicks. So how does it work exactly? So then we have our own predictive audience. So if you remember what I said on the second part is like the real-time profiling, how we like predicting someone in real time. We have used these standard audiences, we have worked on them, we have used them as a base to grab cookieless signals and to create cookieless audiences. How does that work exactly? I put this example in the agnostic part, but just as a reminder, if we know that someone is at home reading an article about financial on time.com on a Saturday at 10 p.m. With a premium device, we potentially say that this user is a male, 25-49, with high revenue and which is married with children. How does that work exactly? So today we have access to a lot of ad opportunities. And what we're doing is we link those ad opportunities to standard audiences. And we have like more than 100 standard audiences that are working cookieless. And all those information are gathered into our algorithm, and those algorithms then with a certain percentage of confidence will link this ad opportunity to a standard audience. And this is what we're doing. And this is super interesting because it already works. And I will finish this presentation with some example of how we're doing it and on which part of our inventory. Then, so what we have this predictive audience, which is already working, which is perfect to be used and to prepare for 2022, where there will be less cookie. And we want progressively all over the year to add unique ID, to add potentially publisher first-party data, or to add the innovation on the privacy sandbox. How we can do it is because we have a lot of people working on it first. We have more than 50 people working on this data team in the engineering part, and we are very close to the unique ID provider first. We also have direct relation with publishers, so we are already talking with them to potentially get first-party cookie and to use them within their own domain. And we are part of all the industry initiatives, such as the Privacy Sandbox, but also the React project. We are part of the W3C, and we will be on top of all tests as soon as they are available on the market. So really, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's one solution which is combining what is available on the market, and this is really something we have been preparing on. So another example, what you will have in the future on Teads. So potentially you can know who purchased an electric bike using a unique ID. You can know, thanks to our predictive audience, who is behind a certain device at a certain type, at a certain time. Then you can know, thanks to the publisher first-party data, what likes this potential user. Sorry. And thanks to the Privacy Sandbox, we know that this user is potentially part of a cohort, which are considered as environment interest. So potentially by combining all those type of information, we would be able to run audience targeting at scale on our inventory on the open internet. So this is how we're working for standard option. But of course, you have custom solution. You also are leveraging your first-party audience. And what we're doing to help you translating this cookie-based audience into a cookieless activation. So firstly, working on a cookie-based audience, I show you in the intro that whatever happened, we really think that, or we truly think that in 2023, there will still remain like 10% of cookies available. Plus, we also are seeing the unique ID growing. We might have more logged in ID available in the future. So potentially, when we have a certain percentage of certified audience, which is cookie and logged in ID, we could map this audience into cookieless signals. And we have an insight tool, which is already live, which is showing you for this part of the audience, what are their main interests, what are their main browsers, their main device, and so on. And we would be able to gather those information to create a cookieless audience. And this is the way we will work, and we will provide to our advertisers, to our agencies, to our publisher potentially, exactly what you can have in terms of cookieless signals insight into our inventory. And why we can do that, it's really because we have this direct relation with them and our own script running on pages. So this is like how we do sustainable audience targeting. Now we are also we have this direct relation with publishers. We have our own script running on pages, and this is a way we will do sophisticated and advanced contextual targeting. So how does it work? Of course, we are pushing it over the last few years a lot. We are working only with premium editorial content partner. And this in every market we are based. So what we're doing is today we are scanning 100 million pages per day. And it's not about only keywords, okay? We extract keywords indeed. We link those keywords together. We analyze the place of those keywords into the page. And we created our own proprietary best-in-class semantic analysis algorithm. And it's not about keyword, it's only about core topics. So we are really reading the page, analyzing the page, and we extract only maximum five main core topics to make sure that we are not considering this page to too many segments. It's 5 maximum, and it's really a semantical analysis of the page. So it's the way we're scanning it, and the fact that we have a lot of reach all over the world help us to be super accurate. So with this approach, we created more than 500 contextual standard segments. So potentially today you can directly activate them either on our buying interface, on programmatic, or potentially on managed services. What we wanted to provide to our buyers is like at least four levels of granularity. One example would be food and drink, then recipe, and potentially dessert and baking, and sugar-free or world cuisine. It's really providing something which is granular enough to be accurate doing some content without knowing the history of the user. And then what is super interesting as well is the fact that we have the right placement at the right moment. This placement, like the in-read, this is what we have been working on over the last 10 years now, is really born to do contextual. It's in the middle of the contextual content, or in the middle of the content, at the heart of the editorial content of a publisher, which is a professional environment, meaning that as we are able to identify one article talking about finance and environment, this could be super interesting to put an ad for hybrid car. And the first results we have, and this is something we can share, we have an average of 2x in terms of brand uplift for the contextual targeting and campaign we have been running over the last few months. And what do we want to do with that? Because context is only the basement. We really want to promote and to provide to our buyers like a UI which will help you to go beyond contextual. It's based on contextual, to add cookieless signals beyond this content to amplify your marketing message using the right moment of receptivity. What is the right moment? Is a moment where you will have your user, which is perfectly receptive for your product, and you can track, not profile him, but like targets all cookieless signals that will help you to define this moment, which could be the browser, the weather, the sentiment of the page, for example, the day of the week, the type of event, the point of interest. So all those information will be gathered into one UI, and you will be able to define this moment to target your user. One example would be, okay, we want to deliver our ads on users that are at home visiting automotive pages during the weekend on premium mobile devices. And this approach, I guess, will be very interesting in the future. So we just propose and promote our sustainable audience targeting. We also have a sophisticated and advanced contextual targeting based on the semantical analysis of millions of articles. But what is super interesting and super crucial for buyers, it's also to provide planning, insight, and measurement tool that will help you to take the right decision at the right moment and to push your ad on the right audience. So how we're doing it? So today we want to define targeting plan or activation with only using cookieless inventory. And this is something which will be able in all of our tools, that you can analyze what is cookie-based, what is cookieless, and how you could do it, how you could prepare your campaign using those dashboards. Then we will provide you with tools to A/B test your targeting accuracy and campaign effectiveness. And of course, we have insight tools that will help you to analyze your audience in a cookie-based or cookieless inventory, and that will help you to prepare what's the next flight of your campaign. So we really want to have tools all along the marketing cycle that will help you to understand what you did with cookie, what you did with cookieless, to prepare, of course, the day where there will be way less cookies than today. And it's up and running, and that's why it's super interesting. So this is really something we can do today, start to test. Today, with only cookieless signals, we think that we are able to deliver like on 60% of our impressions. We can use cookieless signals to target people on 60% of this impression. Then, in terms of accuracy, the fact that we have cookie-based and cookieless inventory, and the fact that we are buying media as well, we help us to test, of course. And we have results for cookie-based. When we compare this story to a cookie-based benchmark, which could be Nielsen DAR or Comscore VCE, we have the same results, which is 30% more in terms of demographic audience targeting than the benchmark. And this is equivalent to what we have on a cookie-based inventory. And on the effectiveness regarding contextual, this is something I already shared, but we have an average brand uplift multiplied by 2 when using contextual compared to a campaign. So that's why it's very important to already use tools, because it's already available on the market. And of course, all solutions that I just shared with you today are integrated in our new universe, integrating in all buying modes, integrating with all formats. So you can use it with our own buying interface. You can use it on a managed services approach, but also using your DSP with us targeting using our SSP. So yeah, to resume and to summarize, this is really the way we want to approach this year. It's to do a sustainable audience targeting, which is respecting the user privacy. We want to do an advanced contextual targeting, in which we are already doing it. And we want to provide and to propose planning, insight, and measurement solutions that will help you to have the right information at the right time. What we create to help our clients understand how we are moving, we have a cookieless hub available with this small click to action there, and we will share the presentation, of course. But this will help you to be prepared to face this challenge, because it's a real challenge. We have also some advice to reshape your first-party data strategy. Of course, it's our vision and it could be challenged, but at least we have something to discuss. You can further proof your audience targeting capabilities. You could discover the power of content because it's already live, it's already working. And what we want is really to avoid everyone to be lost along the way, because there is a lot of information, and having a rational approach will help, of course, all of us in this new challenge. And what we're doing in the next 12 months, we have been working with some partners that are willing to work with us, of course. And what we want is to propose like an approach which will help you to test, to have a test and learn using audiences, using contextual targeting, but also potentially helping you to onboard first-party data to understand your audience into a cookieless environment. There is some step, some module that we are sharing, and this is something you can activate with us, with pleasure, of course, and with the Portuguese team at Teads. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have any question.
First of all, thank you, Hugues, for this very interesting overview of the challenges that we will face in the upcoming weeks/months. We don't have any open questions in the tool. However, I would like to ask the attendees if you want to make a question directly to Hugues. If so, I can make available your video and audio. Please just raise your hand and we will do it. Of course.
Yeah, and we can have a proper follow-up if you have any question, if you want any deep dive or anything.
Okay, I have here a question in the tool. Is Teads currently able to measure the overlap that might exist between the different audiences? This is a question that was just made.
Okay, so today we are like on a day-to-day basis analyzing what we're doing. Okay, we use as a measurement pool and a correction pool and an analyze pool, like a part of the inventory, which is, let's say, certified, so which has a unique ID or a third-party cookie, and then we train those information we have we train our algorithm to translate those information into cookieless signals, and we create pattern. Then this is how our algorithm is working, and we are of course A/B testing everything to make sure it works fine. For social demo, it's very easy because we have very often the local benchmark, Nielsen DAO of Comscore VCE. But for more interest consideration or lower funnel information that we want to test, we are looking at the visit on site, we are looking at the campaign KPIs and like potentially brand lift as well, still leveraging what we have in terms of cookie available and what we could do in a cookieless world. I don't know if it was clear.
I think so. I have here another question, which I think it's something that sometimes we don't think about, but I think it can be important. Is how do you think this will affect the affiliate marketing that is too much dependent on the cookie?
It's a good question. Like Teads is not really working with affiliate partner. I think the Google Privacy Sandbox will propose some stuff, but we need to wait to have the proper information on to test their solution. Then potentially using unique ID if the industry if the internet tomorrow is only made of people that are logged in everywhere they're going, this would be potentially possible. But of course, this raises another question regarding the user privacy. So it will be impacted for sure. I'm pretty sure as well that there will be some solution based on unique ID, potentially based on what Google is proposing. Yeah, this is what I would answer to this question.
Okay, we have two more questions. So our audience is really interactive. This one is one of the main challenges in my understanding will be the remarketing tactics. Talking about other players in the industry, how do you see Criteo adapting their business model to this new reality? How do you see them?
It's a good question. I think they went through a tough time, Criteo, and they are laying off a lot of people. I read that on the news. However, I really think Criteo is like a huge partner in the W3C, working with Google to find a solution. Criteo is also very important into the IAB. So I really think that the turtle dove and fledge approach from Google will provide solutions to companies such as Criteo to do targeting, retargeting, potentially remarketing as well. Then they could use unique ID, but I don't believe unique ID will have enough volume in the future to be sustainable. It will be always like combined with other solution. So if it's still like this and we don't have other alternative, having solutions from Google as leveraging what is in terms of unique ID, or potentially what is in terms of first-party data on the publisher side could help them to find solutions, and I'm pretty sure they will.
Okay. One other question: do you think that predictive algorithms will replace the cookie-based marketing altogether?
Predictive. This is what I tried to show in my presentation. This could answer to some of the question or some of the challenges, but not all of them. So that's why predictive audience, for example, is very interesting for lower funnel approach, more complicated for sorry. Let me start again. Predictive audience is very good for upper funnel approach. For lower funnel approach, it's more complicated because it's complicated to find the intent of a user based on cookieless signals. However, we could use that, and we have to combine this with what is available in the industry. And this is super important. It's the combination on what is available with what you can do in terms of algorithm to make sure that you can answer all challenges we are facing today.
Okay, one other question. Would you say that contextual targeting will be the strongest bet in the industry in the short term?
Short term, like contextual targeting, the fact is it works already. It already works.
Yes.
Today, we expect at Teads we have 10% of our business which is relying only on contextual targeting, but we expect that to be 35% in the next 6 months. If correctly made, this is a real solution that will not replace audience targeting because it's not the same approach, but using contextual and combining that with what you can do on the audience is, for me, like a really good approach. So it will be strong in short term. It won't be the only solution available, but this is something you should test for sure.
Okay. I don't think we have any more questions at this time. I don't know if anyone wants to do a question directly. If so, please raise your hand.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can contact us at any time.
Yes. Okay. So if we don't have any more questions, I would like to thank Hughes for this very good presentation. I invite everyone to visit the Cookieless hub that Hughes mentioned. And as was mentioned, if you have any other questions, please contact us and we will address your questions. So thank you for your participation. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks a lot. Cheers.